Hello. You are listening to Dads with Startups, a podcast about a couple of entrepreneurs who put family first.
Good afternoon, Kevin.
Hey there. Good afternoon. You sound like you're a radio DJ for a cool jazz show or something.
I've got my microphone nice and close to my mouth.
Nice.
So I always feel like if on video, it's just so intrusive. I usually keep it about back here. It feels a little better, but it really does just sound a lot better when it's closer.
Yeah,
right?
at the end of the day. And I got my, this is my backup mic this week. I had a nice, kind of setup for my mic, and unfortunately something broke. And I got to order some new parts, so this will have to work for the time being. Hopefully it'll make do for this time.
It's like a audio recorder device?
Yeah, it's just it's a mini compressor mic that I think a lot of podcasters who travel use, because I've seen people use it, and I remember seeing someone use it in Thailand even, who had a podcast. And it's a nice little thing. It's like $30 on Amazon. It's called Samsung, not to be confused with Samsung, the Korean phone giant. But yeah, so far so good.
Samsonite. Swanson.
Yeah, Samsonite, right.
Recorder.
Maybe it's an offshoot.
So
what's going on with you?
Oh, not much. I'm going to Mexico next week.
Oh, this is the big vacation.
The big vacation, and it turns out the weather forecast is not great. It's rain all hours of the day for basically all 5 days that we're going to be there.
Oh no. Okay.
So last night I was pretty bummed.
Side, East Coast, or
Cancun.
West Coast? Okay, Cancun. All right.
Yep, we're staying at an all-inclusive resort, and I paid for all the luxuries of just relaxing on the beach, right? And wonderful. If it just rains all day, we don't get any of that. So I'm just like, we're paying for nothing. we can still go and have a lot of fun, but I'm just like, it's not scratching that itch if we can't just sit and do nothing and soak up the sun.
That's sort of the selling point, is just sitting out in the sun and getting some rest. But if it's not okay, so we're talking about the Gulf of Mexico. My experience living in Texas, which borders that, is that you have these kind of monsoon kind of rainstorms that come in for a few hours and then they kind of dissipate. So hopefully you'll have a little bit of mixed showers versus just full on.
I hope so. Right now, the 10-day forecast is telling us all day rain, but we'll see if as it gets closer, if it turns it more into that.
Sometimes they give you the worst case scenario in those 10-day.
Yeah.
We've had kind of that. We've had the monsoons right now in Arizona. I don't know if you get those all the way up in Utah.
We actually, we get them.
You do?
Not as heavy as you, but last night it poured pretty hard.
Nice. So, okay. Yeah. So you're getting a little bit of that. So it's been kind of nice because it gives you a little bit of a break. But I know that feeling though. I mean, that is the nice thing about, going to some of these resorts, is just the intensity of the heat. I think Phoenix has a lot of that. The hotter it is, the better for a day like that at the pool. So
yeah, it is. We'll see. There's a lot of fun stuff to do. Otherwise in the area.
No doubt.
So yeah, we're looking forward to that. I bought a book, and not a how to improve your SAAS book.
Oh no.
It's a real book, a real fiction book. So it'll be fun. I can just not think about work. My wife told me to work late every night this week so that I can get all caught up, so I don't have to think about work while I'm gone or be stressed about it. So we'll see. We'll see if I can get caught up.
That sounds fun.
So
I went to this past weekend. We went to the lake. We kind of have a lake around 30 minutes from here, which we've been getting into, and trying to make it like every other week kind of thing. And it has a little beach, and we bought a paddle board, and so we're really enjoying that. And it's it's cooler than here even. It's about 70 degrees. And so I brought I dusted out my old Kindle, which I had had in a closet for like 5 years. It's like the old school Kindle black and white, and charged it up a little bit. And I went out there and thought, well, I don't even know what I have on this thing, but I guess I'll see when I get there. And I opened up a book that was a book of short stories that I had bought years ago and forgot about, never read. And it was really incredible just sitting there and just reading a nice fiction book, not about how to grow, like you said, grow your SAAS or improve yourself or, self-development. It was just felt really cathartic just to read a story about someone else's life. And it was like, oh, this is so important to kind of rejuvenate, yourself and get your mind off things a little bit. So,
yeah, it's true. It has to be, I find I get easily distracted these days, especially with work and everything. So it has to be a really good, like, can't put it down.
Yeah.
I read one last year, was it? Or a year and a half, called Beneath a Scarlet Sky. If you haven't read that one and you like to read that one, I highly recommend. It's about a guy who served under the Nazi banner, but he was a spy for the Allied forces.
Oh, nice.
And he was a driver for one of the top Nazi generals and met Mussolini a couple times, and just true story, based on a true story.
Very cool.
I think they're making a movie from it too. So,
nice.
So
okay,
that's how you know it's good if they're making a movie.
Yeah, that is true. And hopefully you read it before.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So updates on the business, Kevin.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I am in the midst of a bunch of things, business-wise. I think the biggest thing that I'm dealing with right now in terms of challenges is I have a great developer that I'm really grateful for, who's more my core primary developer. And I just increased his rate just yesterday because I was like, I want to keep the guy around.
Nice.
And inflation and stuff like that. But I am always nervous about what if he just walks off, what am I going to do? And I had another guy that's been pretty good, but he's as time has gone on, he's more flaky than he used to be, which means that he's my guess is that he's probably taking part-time work at other places because I'm kind of part-time on his schedule. So I realized yesterday, okay, I can't rely on him. He went like last week, he told me he was going to do all this work, and then I looked at his hours and he had almost none that he submitted for. I think he worked an hour last week, and I was like, ooh, okay, not good. And I've just been going through such a time trying to find a decent developer these days. For the past, it's been like 2 or 3 months of just trying one person after another person out. I've all these different platforms, Upwork and Freelancer and Guru, throwing whatever I can at this situation. And I've hired developers for years. I've never found it to be this challenging. I don't know if it's, my guess is maybe it's something related to this kind of low unemployment scenario we're in, that there's just a lot of demand right now still, and a lot of people have jobs or are not looking for it. I don't know. And salaries are high right now, probably higher than they've been in a long time. So it's it's a kind of a weird environment, and I've read a little bit of people having similar challenges on some forums I'm a part of. So I'm hoping it's a phase or something, because I've never had this much trouble hiring someone before. But my hope is I'll find somebody. I kind of brought someone on. It's funny. I brought 2 full-time people on that I had great interviews with, and then the moment they actually got onto the team, it was just nothing but disaster. They couldn't get a local environment set up. They were claiming they were experts in this and that. One guy just would not listen. And I would give him the simple directions. He would ignore it. So I had to let him go. And so, yeah, I'm just, that's kind of what I'm working through. Last night I spent a good 4 hours just kind of reposting things and posting my jobs and trying to come up with some new plans of attack for this.
These are all developers, right?
Yeah, just developers.
That's rough. A couple months ago when I was hiring earlier this year, I I was not having those problems.
Oh, okay.
But they're not technical people either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like the problem, in fact, with the labor market, I thought I would have a hard time, but I had so many candidates
good.
to get through.
That's great.
But they weren't technical. So I think it is technical people. I think you got to pay more these days.
Yeah,
I think
you do.
with remote work, that's distributed income levels across the, around the world a little bit more. So
Yeah.
which is great for if you are a developer living overseas, but
Yeah.
not great for American-based businesses who want to hire outside.
Totally.
So,
It's kind of a bummer in that sense, is that the advantage that we offered a few years ago of remote work is no longer much of an advantage. And that's really quite a drastic change. I mean, it is funny how once people it's almost like once people realize they could work from home, it's really hard to come up with compelling reasons for people to have to go back to the office. And it's funny, I know a few folks that are remote now. They're fully remote, and they were working at offices before. And I see their trends, and they just don't they don't work as long of hours as I'm sure they used to. They're definitely not in the actual at that desk for as long as they probably were. They're probably there
right.
60-70% of the time. So it's
hard. It's hard.
Time.
I had this conversation with a buddy just today, and the question is, are they sure they're not working as much, but has their productivity gone down, or is it the same?
Good question.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how you measure that.
I don't know either. Yeah. And I do remember when I was at an office, I probably took a couple hours, every so often. I would have my days where I'd be like fully on and wouldn't take lunch. And then there'd be days where I'd just be,
Hanging
going
out.
to get a long lunch and hanging out, talking to coworkers, especially if there were meetings involved. That really threw us. I think that was a big one, is if I didn't have a day with meetings, I could really just drive through and get a lot of stuff done. But if I had meetings breaking up my day, the day was kind of shot in terms of productivity. So who knows? But anyway, so that's kind of my main challenge right now. Hopefully I'll find somebody. I am upping my rates. And then I'd say last time we spoke, I was about to deploy our updates. I haven't done that. And so I'm still stuck with that. I think that week my developers were on vacation, so I was kind of holding back. And then last week I just tested the app here, left, right, up and down, and found a bunch of new problems. And so I'm kind of at that point where we're wrapping up the fixes for that. And I feel like I'm just a couple hours of testing away from just deploying it. But, I've said that for the past week, so we'll see. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I know what it's like to be a broken record in terms of product development. That's for sure. Yeah, I do these weekly planning sessions with my team, and I'm the only product guy. But I'm also carrying a lot of other things. Like I'm having trouble delegating customer service. I think I've talked about that already. And so I get easily distracted by customer requests, and then there's just other random stuff, like today I spent some time working with a payment processing company and kind of debugging issues there that wasn't really planned. So every week I tell my team, I said I was going to do this and I still haven't done it. And that's the way it is. So maybe it's time to hire a developer, but horror stories like your own really deter me from even wanting to try.
I know. And it's like, because I've set everything up this way, I'm now dependent upon them, which is good and bad. I mean, it really drives me crazy when I want to just go in and be like, I want to fix this one thing, but I can't figure it out because I didn't build it. And I waste 2 hours on that. And then I'm like, all right, I'll make a screencast. But in that way, it's also good because it's not allowing me to spend, 6 hours or 10 hours on something. But right now it's a hard time. So I think you're in a place where not having to worry about hiring a developer is a nice thing. And maybe by the time you're ready for it, the prices will be a little more normalized and the availability will go up. So
yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I don't know if developer prices are going to go down, but maybe my own prices will go up.
There you go.
To compensate.
Yeah, I know, with inflation.
So yeah.
What about you?
One of the tasks that I've been so busy with over the last couple of months has been data migration for new customers. So when we onboard a new customer, it's very hands-on. They send us all of their data, let's say a database of building permits and business licenses or something. And we take that data, we write our own code to import that data into Civic Review. And so there's a little bit of a process there in terms of writing code. I would say anywhere between probably 10 and 20 hours of work goes into it.
For each new system you encounter, or each customer?
No, okay. But there will be customers who use the same system and their data just looks a little bit different each time. So I've been trying to think, okay, this is a huge time sucker, and at this point we have a contract signed. In fact, they've usually paid for the first year already. And so is this work actually furthering our business? The answer to that is no. Versus feature development, you're adding value. Sales, you're obviously adding revenue. Data migration is just kind of like a black hole of labor.
Right.
And I was trying to figure out, okay, could I hire a developer? Well, a full-time job, this is too much for a full-time position right now. And frankly, I can't say that that's what I need to hire out yet, another full-time dev, So I was thinking about freelancers, contractors, if I could find somebody to do this work. Problem is, as I go through the data that I'm going to import, I have to be intimately familiar with how the Civic Review instance works, how the forms are set up for the new customer. And sometimes I have to look at the data and draw my own conclusions and then discuss that with the customer. There's quite a bit of phone calls that happen with the customer as I work through this. So that makes it a little difficult to hire somebody overseas. At least their English would have to be really good, and they would have to be trained to be basically an expert in Civic Review and have some knowledge to the permitting and licensing process. So I have a couple of customer success reps who have been working at Civic Review long enough to be experts themselves. They're not technical. However, they do have the skills, the problem-solving skills needed to be able to work with the customer and say, okay, you have this column that says, I don't know, status. So what does this mean for permits in Civic Review? Does that mean, it's being reviewed? Does it mean it's been approved but still waiting on stuff? Does it mean it's brand new and hasn't even been approved yet? You got to brainstorm with the customer on that stuff. And so I decided what I really need is a piece of software that would take a bunch of input data, generate the code that I need to run the data migration, and then I could take that code and then tweak it from there.
Interesting.
However, that's a whole new side project that I just don't have time to build. But I decided to start with a spreadsheet. So today, actually, I've been working on this spreadsheet where it has a whole bunch of sections, and it has one column where it's like, okay, here's a field ID needs to be matched up with this column in the CSV file that the customer sends us or whatever, and a couple different areas for how to handle different types of data. And I'm going to try that out for we've got a data migration coming up in the next couple weeks, and then another one probably a few weeks after that. So I'm going to try that out because hopefully that could eliminate all the back and forth phone calls that I am usually doing with the customer. And so I could take the spreadsheet, whip out the code, and we'll see if it decreases the amount of work for me. So
yeah, it sounds like you could also have someone help with the spreadsheet at least, because that's pretty non-technical or medium technical.
Yeah. So my customer success rep, who mostly spearheads the implementation phase, she's pretty good with spreadsheets as well.
Yeah.
So, she could also make some changes. Right now, it's just I'm looking at my other monitor here, and it's just kind of one sheet with all the columns, and then I create drop-down options on this other sheet where she can match things up.
No, that's great.
And then just make notes and do a lot of that planning for me. So,
do they give you a CSV every time, or is it just depend on the situation?
yeah, it's usually a CSV or an Excel file.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good. So
Yeah.
That simplifies things a little bit. It's not like you have to go in, learn their system,
Oh, no.
export their
Yeah.
database, whatever. You can just
Nope.
start with the CSV. But it's not as simple as, when you import when you move like mailing list providers from MailChimp to, I don't know, ActiveCampaign, you export the CV, then you go and you just name all the right, match all the right columns in a nice GUI, and then you press up. It's not that simple. It sounds like it can't be done that way.
It's that simple for about 80% of the work.
Okay.
Right.
And then it gets
and then that 20% is just, it just can't. I don't see a way to simplify it like that, where I could even have a customer do all that work, So, but if I can get something that will do 80% of the work for me, that would
that'd be nice.
Right?
That would reduce a lot of your overhead there, especially if you can train your onboarding person to learn that skill. That would be cool.
Yeah. So we'll see in 2 weeks when we record again if we've had a chance to do that. I mean, I am going to Mexico next week, and so we'll see. And then she has a vacation, so we'll see if I have a chance to tell you how much is saved. Not. But
cool, interesting.
Anyway,
Sounds
so that's
good.
step.
Are you? I forgot to ask you. Are you and feel free to pass on this question, but are you somebody? Do you believe in the multi-tenant database system where you have each new customer gets their own kind of enclosed bubble in your app, or is it kind of on a shared? You got to share with other clients.
It's shared with other clients.
Also shared. Okay, which is what I'm doing too.
I've worked on apps in the past over the years that were separate instances, and it was always just a nightmare to do updates. You know,
makes sense.
So it seems like that method is kind of making a comeback. I feel like lately.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I just see more. I'm surprised to see how many people have it set up that way, and I'm just like, guys, I guess for scalability, it's all right. But still,
performance, I could see it being great because you're really, I would think, especially if you could separate them out into virtual servers or move things in between. Maybe you can have 100 clients scattered between different servers. That'd be cool. But scalability wise, I would think that would be or even just updates, deployments, all that stuff. That seems like a nightmare, and you're creating a lot of overhead.
I'll tell you what, it's a lot. So I guess, do I have a multi-tenant database? I don't know the terminology, which is which. But the method I'm using now, it is much easier to go from the setup that I have now, the architecture I have now, to splitting them up later. So much easier.
Good. Okay. Yeah.
To go the other, because I wouldn't really have to do any restructuring of my data or anything, right? You can just split it up and then execute the same code.
Yeah,
versus it's much easier to bring them back together.
Yeah. True. That's cool. Just curious. All right, great. Well, any kind of updates with the fam besides the trip you're taking, family to Mexico? Any happenings?
No, it's been a pretty couple of weeks.
Nice.
Yep, we haven't really done much. A lot of swim lessons and tennis lessons for my kids.
How are they doing with tennis?
They enjoy it, but they won't admit it because we force them to do it. Okay. And so they weren't happy about being forced to do another class or team or whatever,
Okay.
But we're just
and you're still coaching? Is that right?
Yeah.
Were you coaching?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I was kind of teaching my kids a little bit, but no.
Okay.
Nope.
Gotcha.
So
Well,
how about
good.
you? What are your kids up to?
Nothing too exciting. I think the main thing, one of my oldest just started school again. She was in sort of like a waiting list for a school around here, and they opened it up, and so that's been nice. And we found kind of a good working out with a few other families where we all kind of pitch in to hire a babysitter who will watch the kids a few times a week at this church/coffee shop. So they're in the Sunday school, which has a lot of great toys and stuff, and it's a bunch of kids together, and then the parents are able to go and just kind of get work done at the coffee shop, which has been nice, which is next door. So that's been fun.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been really nice,
Yeah.
and it's something I think would only, it's easier to happen in a smaller town versus a big, massive town like where we used to live. But it might have worked there. But yeah, it's been nice, and I'm excited. I'm also sad because babysitter's amazing, but she's leaving and moving away in about a month. So it was like, oh no, bittersweet.
Maybe you could find someone else.
Yeah, the model is working really well. So if we can just replicate that, I'd be happy. Yeah, so that's been nice in terms of just getting a little bit more work time. In fact, it's maybe the closest thing my wife and I have to like a date now. Like we used to,
Right.
we don't date nights. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. But like that's become more of a sure thing where we just kind of have a coffee together or have a sit down together. So that's been nice. But
yeah, we have been really terrible at date nights, and some of our kids one of our kids has some separation anxiety. And so we were like, we need to go on more dates and leave them with a babysitter. But babysitters are expensive. I love the idea of a group thing. Problem is we have 4 kids. The neighbors to the south of us have 4 kids. The next neighbors down have 4 kids.
Wow. Okay.
And
12.
And then the other house on the other side of us has 1 kid, so they're the anomaly. And then the next one over has 4 kids, and the next one up has 5 kids.
Oh wow!
You can imagine it's probably a little difficult to find a babysitter to watch.
Yeah, you're gonna need a team of babysitters, I think.
I know.
By that time, you might want to create a nonprofit and a school and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Child center.
Yep.
That's
We're just waiting until my oldest gets old enough to watch all the kids on his own, and then
that's why you have 4 kids. That's right. That's the long-term strategy there. That's good.
I know.
Great.
Yep. So, what are your plans for the week, Kevin?
Work-wise, by next time, deployment will be out. The updates will be out. I'm excited about that. We have some new features, which is kind of like they're sorely needed. User tracking, so that what your learners are doing, and then just some kind of improvements to the payment system. And we're working on the quiz feature right now, which is going to be a big behemoth of a feature. So we decided to go with that. And I'm looking into kind of we're looking at some existing packages that maybe we could start with to kind of quicken the development up. We'll see if that works. But in general, by next time I should have the deployments out and the updates out, I should say. And if not, then man, I'll be disappointed. What about you?
We've got my next week is full of checking off everything on my to-do list before I go on this trip. But we did have our first conference of the season.
Oh.
I sent my one customer success rep last week down to Arizona, to your neck of the woods.
Oh, there we go.
And he went to a city clerks conference and came back.
Nice.
We've got a demo scheduled for that already. And plus, he says there's a pretty good list of leads that he can go through. So
great.
I'm transitioning him a little bit into sort of a sales development role, where he'll go to conferences, he'll nurture the leads and prepare them for a demo. And then as soon as they're ready for a demo, they'll pass off to me to work the rest of the deal.
Sounds like he was successful down there or down here. That's great.
Yeah, I think it worked out. So next So then the end of August, I will be going down to Phoenix this time.
Cool.
To a city planners conference.
All right.
And he will the same week be going out to Wisconsin, I believe, to go to a conference up there. So,
well, if you swing through Payson, give me a holler.
I will be flying over Payson.
Oh no!
But
I'll wave up.
No, that drive is like a 19-hour drive, Kevin.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to pass on that.
I imagine that's a big one. But yeah, well, maybe I'll be down there. Who knows? Let me know when you're in town.
Okay.
We'll figure something out.
Will do. Yeah, I'm excited. We've got I think I may have mentioned this already, but we've got 14 conferences between now and about March of next year, but most of them are landing. We've got 2 this month, and then maybe about 6 or 7 in September, and maybe 5 more in October. So yeah, it's going to be a busy time for us.
That's great. Well, good luck with those.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, enjoy your vacation next week. I look forward to hearing how that goes. Hopefully you guys get more sun than you're expecting.
Yep, hopefully. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right.
Okay, peace out, Kevin.
Next time. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. You can learn more by visiting dadswithstartups.com. Please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/dadswithstartups. Until next time, bye.